I know libs love NPR. I know even some leftists think NPR is a reputable organization, even though it's publicly funded by the U.S. It's state media. But I'm going to show you how it's not. They're just another fucking tool of the American propaganda machine. Here's an article on a remote island, a test of wills between the Philippines and China. So they're talking to these residents of this tropical island in the Spratly Islands, which is disputed territory between China and the Philippines. And they say that the residents of this tropical island, who are Filipinos, they say that their constant nuisance is China, right? Their source on this at the bottom here is a fucking officer of the Philippine Coast Guard. So that's that's somebody who is with the Philippines government, right? So further down in the article, NPR says, China's claims are now spurring neighboring countries to bolster regional security partnerships. The Philippine president, Marcos Jr., who's a U.S. puppet, like the most blatant U.S. puppet, says he's planning for an agreement on security and freedom of navigation in the South China Sea with President Biden and the Japanese Prime Minister. So that's the USA, right? We're talking about the USA here. Then they say, the Philippines, the United States, Australia, and Japan also held a joint patrol around the Spratlys, the islands. China countered with its own maritime patrol. So we're talking about the United States, from the other side of the fucking world, sending their ships over to the South China Sea to do patrols. But China bad here, right? This whole article is China bad. Now they're talking about Second Thomas Shoal, which I've talked about a lot, right? They say on multiple occasions, Chinese Coast Guard ships shot high-pressure jets of water at Philippine resupply boats. What are they resupplying, NPR? You don't say anywhere in this article. Where are those boats going? What are they resupplying? What is their mission to? Why aren't you saying that? Do you know why they aren't saying that? It's because it's a fucking military base that the Philippines purposely grounded. It was a former U.S. warship that was used for imperialist endeavors during the Cold War in Vietnam. It probably killed a bunch of Vietnamese people. The Philippines is trying to keep their claim on this shoal, which again, just like the Spratly Islands, is disputed territory with China. They're trying to do that by putting a military base there. And China is stopping resupply missions to that military base, which is staffed only with Philippines army men, soldiers, right? Why doesn't NPR say this anywhere in this fucking article? They say China has also threatened military aggression against what it sees as foreign meddling in its backyard. What do you mean, what it sees? When the USA comes from their side of the world to China's side of the world, to Asia, and makes 300 military bases and stations tens of thousands of troops, how could anyone see that as anything but foreign meddling? What does foreign mean and what does meddling mean? What do words mean? This is a common trend with Western media. So now they're quoting a Chinese state-run tabloid, which I love how they say that because that's what fucking NPR is for America. They're a state-run fucking tabloid, based on this article at least. They say, if the concerned parties intend to escalate tensions in the South China Sea and undermine China's territorial and sovereign integrity, then they will become the PLA's target. Okay, let's go to that link to see what they're actually talking about. Because NPR, again, left something important out. This is the article they're linking to, and yes, it is from the Global Times, which is Chinese state media. It says, Southern Theater Command's South China Sea Patrol sends a clear signal. China is talking about how the PLA organized a joint naval and air strategic patrol in the South China Sea on April 7th. See, this is what the US does. On the other side of the fucking world. China's doing it in the South China Sea, which is attached to China. And China here says that they're doing this directly in response to the first maritime cooperation activity of the US, Australia, Japan, and the Philippines that was conducted on the same day. Why does NPR not say that China said this in response to the US doing the same kind of patrols? Except the US, again, is on the other side of the fucking globe. They say that the four countries issued a joint statement before the drills. Although it did not name China, the connotation of targeting China can't be clearer, which is true. They won't say it, but we all know what they're doing. They're antagonizing China here. Chinese state media also says that they claim their exercise was to safeguard the rule of law that is the foundation for a peaceful and stable Indo-Pacific region and to uphold freedom of navigation and overflight. However, this is a complete falsehood. Every year, more than 100,000 ships and one-third of maritime trade pass through the South China Sea, and none have ever complained about China obstructing freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. The only thing China is doing is stopping resupply missions to a former U.S. military boat. See, this entire Global Times article is about how the U.S. is causing all of these tensions. NPR doesn't say that. They say, we have said many times that the U.S. is handing over a knife to the Philippines while holding the handle. At the bottom, they say, isn't the U.S. always holding the handle of the knife? Listen, well said. Why did this NPR article not say anything about China making all of these statements in regards specifically to the U.S. meddling in their sea? Why did the NPR article not mention the fact that the Philippines alone has 5 military bases? They're about to have 4 more. Why did they not mention any of the hundreds of other U.S. military bases in Asia surrounding China? They're a fucking puppet of the U.S. government.